Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, the show that gives you a virtual seat at the bar for the real conversations that happen between entrepreneurs. I'm interviewing all kinds of business owners, from those just a few years into freelancing to CEOs helming 9-figure companies. If you've ever worried that everyone else just seems to get it and you're missing something or messing things up, this show is for you. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass. With me for a second appearance is the lovely, wonderful, amazing Tricia Brouk. Say hi, Tricia.
Hi, Tricia. Angie, I'm so happy to be back here with you.
I love that. Never gets old when people say hi to themselves. That always makes me laugh. So, I'm so happy to have you back. Tell us more about your business.
My business is all about helping to amplify and elevate the voices of thought leaders, influencers, people who want to share their stories, whether it's from across the kitchen table, across the boardroom table, or from a big stage. And it is my mission to unite humanity through speech.
I love that. You know, I think that taps into something I'm super passionate about too, which is just destroying this belief that you don't have something special to share. If you haven't achieved this certain status or this certain milestone, you have something special to share, something worthy to share, something positive to contribute to society simply by being here, by being alive, by going through what you've been through. And I love that you're giving people a chance to step into that spotlight and amplify their voices. Yeah.
Thank you. And I love what you just said, Angie, about you have the right to speak because you are here.
Mm-hmm.
And you do this on your podcast. You give people a platform to share about who they are in their business on this podcast. And so many times we wait for permission to use our voice. And when we're waiting for permission, think about all the time that is passing where somebody didn't hear from you. So I say, hurry up and speak.
Well, it's interesting. Like, I'm familiar with the head trash around this too. I caught myself talking to a good friend last year about wanting to get on stage. That's how you and I first connected. I took one of your classes about becoming a TED Talk speaker. And I said something totally without thinking that she called me on, which I love. This is the beauty of surrounding yourself with friends who are what I call a loving mirror. They reflect the truth back at you, even when it's uncomfortable. So I said something along the lines of, I would love to be on stage because I could do so much good from stage. And she goes, true, correct. And I would love to be on stage, period. You can do the thing just because you love the thing and you enjoy the idea of being on stage. You know that, right? And I was like, can I though? And so that's why I love the idea of this show and why I'm so passionate about Permission to Kick Ass, because even I still run into that issue all the time of am I allowed to do that? Is that okay to do it just because I want it? And I know that good will come of it, but I don't have to justify wanting to do the thing to do the thing.
I love that so much. I absolutely love that. And you're reminding me of Brouk right now. She did a podcast. She's a fantastic, massively successful life coach, the Life Coach School. I'm doing a free promotion for her right now. Hi, Brouk. So she did a podcast about because she wants to. So why did you get divorced? Because I wanted to. Why do you want to make $100 million? Because I want to. Why do you do this? Because I want to. And there should not have to be anything after that statement. Because I want to. And I love that. You're going to take a stage because you want to.
Because you want to, because that's your happy place. I spent so many years singing and I'm just happy when I'm on stage performing. I'm one of those weirdos. So you've been through, it's been about a year since we talked. Holy crap. I just realized that. It's been about a year since we recorded our last episode. And I'm sure a lot has happened in that last year. Do you want to catch us up on what's been going on with your business?
Well, I have been putting a few new initiatives in place in order to what the entrepreneurs call scale the business.
Yep, it's important.
That is very important because I really want to be able to reach as many people as possible through the Big Talk Academy. And I absolutely adore my one-on-one clients, and I give them a lot of my time, which means I can't be in more than one place at a time. So being able to focus all of our attention on the Big Talk Academy has been really our goal in 2022. And we went through a couple different marketing directors. We went through a process of trying a bunch of new things and seeing what would work. So there was a lot of sort of hurry up and wait last year.
Yeah, I get that.
Exactly what it's like being on a film set.
Mm.
And so this year, what we've decided, the theme for this year for my company is slowing down to speed up.
Oh, I like that.
So we're really, really slowing down, putting lots of processes in place, creating dashboards, collecting data, not making decisions based on anything except data.
Mm.
And what's great about this for me is that the team does that. And now I can go off and be creative and write my play and work on the next 2 books and talk to you and do all the things that I love doing because they're in place. There's systems and there's processes that are in place. And my incredible director of operations, Janice, she's creating all these dashboards so that together with Facebook ads and my marketing team, we can look at the data, see what's working, and double down on it. And so I'm really excited about slowing down to speed up this year.
I love that messaging. And I feel like more entrepreneurs need a reminder that, again, they have permission to do that. There is no rush. I remember, there can be a rush sometimes. So that's a little bit of an overstatement. But one of my mentors in my early days of copywriting, he was helping me through a project that I had set up, right? And I told this person that I could do this sales page in a week, not knowing what I didn't know about what it took to produce one. So I did it in a week. And then I added in like press releases and editing several. I didn't sleep. I edited several email sequences. I didn't sleep much that week. And when I went to my mentor a little bit frustrated later on, he goes, okay, so here's something that doesn't sound great, but it's a tool that you can use moving forward. The deadlines are arbitrary. You should treat them with respect once they're set, but remember that you set them. So you can move them if you need to. So I don't advise like taking it so lightly that you move every deadline you ever set, because then you're never actually going to move forward. Again, stick to them once you've set them. But remember, if you gave yourself a week to get it done and you are finding yourself not sleeping and stressed out and not producing your best work, well, then you can always go to the client and say, could I have an extra week on that? Could I have a couple more days on that? I set an ambitious timeline. My bad on that. Here's what I need to do my best work for you. Would you give me a couple days? And I was like, oh man, that's right. I can slow down. I don't have to go pedal to the metal the whole time.
And most people will say yes to that request because they want your best work.
Yes, absolutely. And I look like so many of us get down on ourselves. We feel like we've let the clients down if we say, I have to miss a deadline. I have to skip a meeting today or something like that. But so many of us have been in the same situation where we've had to cancel a meeting on the receiving end of it. So I think most people are way more understanding than we give ourselves credit for. We got to stop being so hard on ourselves.
And that goes back to thinking about how you treat yourself and how you treat clients. So if you as a CEO would be comfortable extending a deadline or making an adjustment or rescheduling a meeting, why would you be so hard on yourself for needing to reschedule a meeting or move a deadline?
Right? We're all humans here, and most of us humans have a little bit of grace. And to me, if I make a simple request like, hey, I'm not on my A game today, can we move this meeting until next week? I promise it's going to be worth it when I can show up and be my best self. I don't even usually offer that much explanation, but if they push back and they're a bit attitudinal about it and they can't give me some grace on it, I'll still give them grace for being human. Maybe they're having a bad day and this message came at the wrong time. We're still going to show up next week and do our best work. And that'll be data for moving forward. I can't move this meeting with this person, so maybe this is not the best person moving forward long term if this kind of attitudinal stuff happens again.
Right. But what you're talking about too right now, Angie, which is so great, is what it means to be an influential voice, asking for what you want, communicating effectively with dignity and humility, grace and love.
Absolutely. I think it's so important to ask for what we want, because there is, especially in female circles, women business owner circles, like we don't always feel comfortable asking for what we want. Or we assume that we've talked about it enough that other people have picked up on it and we haven't expressly said, I want this. what would you say to somebody who's looking to, say, step on a stage and they're struggling with finding the resources or finding their power to step into that? I know I just threw a curveball at you from what we were talking about before.
I just caught it. I caught
Yes.
it. We're good, Angie. The first thing is, if you want to step onto big stages, you have to ask to do that. And what I mean, or tell people you want to do that. So
Yes.
I would like to step on your stage. I would like to speak at your event. Ask for what you want. I would like to be on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to speak on your podcast. And the second thing is really thinking about what your principles are and your values are. And what I mean by that is, most human beings would never want to silence another human being.
Mm-hmm.
Most human beings do not shame or judge someone for saying what they're saying. Most good dignified human beings we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a select few who are the opposite of what I'm saying. We're not talking about them right now. We're talking about dignified human beings who want to hear what someone else has to say, whether it's the same opinion or not. We're talking about a dignified human being who believes what you have to say is valid and worthwhile. Mm-hmm. So when you think about those principles in relationship to who you are as someone in the world, why would you violate your own principles by not sharing your own voice?
Yes.
By not speaking your own truth and believing that what you have to say matters and what you need to speak is worthy and should not be judged.
Oh, I love that you brought that up, because I think that that's one of the things that stops people a lot, is just this fear of how it's going to be received. People are going to say, especially if I feel like I messed up something, the haters are going to come for me. And I love that you use the word dignified, because I think that takes the sting out of it, especially since most haters and trolls online are a tiny bit less than dignified, right? When they come after you, that helps me. And I'm sensitive to troll stuff too. But like, if it comes to me in that, and I can go, oh, this is a less than dignified response, that takes the sting out of it for me.
I'm glad. Because listen, if you're going to be an influential voice and put yourself out there, you're going to have haters. The higher elevation you play, the bigger your empire becomes, the more success you have as an entrepreneur and as an influential voice, the more people are going to not like you and not like what you're saying. And you have to be really, really clear that does not matter and it cannot get in the way of your mission.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that changed for me. I mean, I can still feel the sting of it. I think all of us can as humans, but I learned to switch that narrative to be like, well, they don't like me. Do I like them? I don't even know enough about them to know if I like them. So why do I care if they don't like me? Cool. You go find somebody that you like. That's perfectly fine. There's plenty of space for all of us.
And I also ask you to ask yourselves the question, do I want to be liked or do I want to have impact?
Yes. The folks that like change everything about themselves to be likable wind up blending in and not really being memorable and not saying that thing that they could have said that actually changes somebody's life, because they were operating out of fear instead of just that. Why am I struggling for the word? Like that integrity, that soul calling, that thing that makes them driven to help other people. I love that.
I think there's something about what you're touching on too when it comes to being liked that's so important, because when we know that we are in integrity, it doesn't matter if someone doesn't like you. It doesn't matter if someone even hates you or sues you, right? And as an entrepreneur, anyone who's listening, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have a lawyer, just get a lawyer. You're going to need a lawyer at some point in your life, because someone's going to want to get out of a contract, or somebody's going to say you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And that's very, very disruptive. So if we're talking about integrity and being in alignment, it's really important that you trust, no matter what kind of challenges come your way as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, that you are always in integrity and nothing can rattle that. Really important that you understand that.
Ooh, speak more about that, because I heard that lawyer word sneak in there, and I have a feeling that there's a story behind that. Are you comfortable sharing?
Well, I think that I've had lawyers my whole life because I've been in showbiz. So we're always working with contracts. And, I've co-collaborated with my lyricist composer. We've worked on plays and musicals together. So having a lawyer simply means you are communicating clearly, effectively, and in writing. So that if anything changes, you can review the agreement that you came up with together. Now, I'm married. I am in a contract with my husband. What do you think happens when you get married? You sign a contract. It's a legal binding agreement. So people being afraid of having lawyers, it's an external, socially imposed bias, right?
Yes.
It's really important that you dot the I's and cross the T's in your business. It's really important.
Go ahead.
It's really important that you have contracts with all of your contractors and your participants in your programs, because there's a lot of people in this online space who say, I went through your program and I didn't like it, so I want a refund. Well, that would be a no, because whether you like it or not is subjective. Did I deliver? Yes, I did. Therefore, no, you can't have a refund. So instead of me being involved in that conversation, that's why you need a lawyer.
I love that you brought that up too, because I've seen especially creative entrepreneurs, those of us that have put a piece of ourselves into the work, like you're doing with the musical creation, with the play production, like I do with writing. There is this tendency to feel like this self-judgment. If I get a lawyer involved, does this mean that I'm not trustworthy, that I don't stand by my goal? Is this going to introduce some sort of impediment to the working process where they start to think twice? And to that, I say no, because most serious business owners understand that signing a contract is just part of the deal. And they're going to read it and they're going to tell you whether they disagree with something or they want some changes. And then it's just going to proceed as normal. And that it might actually send up red flags if you don't have a contract or some form of legal agreement in place. And the flip side of that coin, especially that I've seen with writing communities, is they tend to use that contract like a magical shield. Like once I have the perfect wording on the contract and the agreement, I can force another person to do something. And I'm sorry to break your heart here and now. You will never be able to force another human being to do anything, no matter how good your contracts are.
I love that you're saying that. And it's such a great point that when you share a legal document with someone that you are going into relationship with, it is sharing. You are collaborating on the agreed terms so that you are both set up for success.
Yeah. And if your reaction to reading somebody's terms is, nope, I don't agree with that, well, then you write back to them and say, hey, I'm good with this. I'm not good with this. Could we change that to this? And just start that conversation and see what happens. It doesn't have to be a fight. Like they included one clause I don't agree with. They're an evil person. No, they're not. It can be a collaboration. It can be a conversation. I love that you brought that up. And I love that you brought up the fact that, people can request refunds for any reason. I know that's a big conversation that happens in digital marketing, digital course creating too, whether or not to give refunds, what the terms should be. I was glad that you mentioned that you don't give refunds for somebody that says, I don't like it. I love that. Talk about being true to yourself. I delivered. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. Like, come on.
Right. That goes back to me being in full integrity. I know what we offer will give you the results we promise. I know what we offer is in integrity and high quality and excellent. We have certified hundreds of speakers through the Big Talk Academy. I have put thousands of speakers onto stages. I know what we teach works. And if it is simply that it doesn't align with you, you thought it was something else, the terms are very clear when you join our academy. And if you do the work, you will get the results. And we make that promise. So we don't give refunds.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And I'm going to encourage every product owner, course creator, teacher, marketer, speaker, consultant to continue to live in that message, right? There's an outrage culture out there, especially like all these viral videos of Karens and the customer is always right. Actually, that saying has been abbreviated and it's incorrect. The customer is always right in matters of taste. Meaning if they come up with the most hideous sweater that you've ever seen in your life and they ask you, is this a good sweater? Well, it's a good sweater for them. They're right about that. That's okay. But if they come and tell you how you should be running your business, frankly, if they're not running their own, I don't really care what you think about how I run my business. Have I shown up, delivered my best work with the spirit of helping people? Then cool. I feel really good about what I'm doing, even if you disagree with it. Awesome. I wanted to go back to, because you mentioned bringing in a new marketing director and having to go through a couple before you found the right fit. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about what that team growth process was like? Like what helped you realize that you needed to grow? I know you mentioned wanting to scale, but I'm interested in digging more into that.
Thank you. I want to create a culture in my company that is aligned with our values, with my values. And that's inclusion, integrity, curiosity, respect, humility, collaboration, excellence, and love. And it also means investing in this company for the long term. So when I hired my director of operations, I went through a team, a headhunter, and we did an extensive search. And I worked with several for over the period of a few years. And when I found Janice, who is our current director of operations, we had an extensive interview process. I gave her an assignment. And to this day, she says, was that a trick question? And I thought, it's not really a trick question, but it did give me an insight into how your brain works. So she was who we hired. And within 3 months, Angie, I knew that she was the person.
Yes.
To take this company to the next level and the person who was going to be part of this team for the long term. So within 3 months, I gave her a 50% raise.
Holy crap. That's awesome.
And in 3 months, I knew that I wanted her attention on us solely, exclusively. Lots of entrepreneurs who are in leadership roles have more than one client and their focus is split, and that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I had a call. I got her on a call and I said, your work is incredible. You are growing rapidly. You are managing the chaos of the back end really beautifully. What would it take for you to work exclusively for the Big Talk?
I love that.
And she said, well, you would have to increase what you're paying me to cover my other clients. And I said, nice. Give me the number. And I said, done. How much notice do you need to give your other clients? So within 30 days, she gave notice respectfully to her other clients and started working for us exclusively. So within 4 months, this incredible hire, Janice, our director of operations, went from part-time to exclusive and full-time. Yeah. And it was the best decision that I made for my business. And within that period of time, we were able to really work with some marketing people who didn't work out, determine that we want more attention. Having contractors sort of be in your business is very difficult for growth because you're constantly waiting for things. Yeah. So it's really been a beautiful transition into having full-time director of operations and bringing in 2 teams who are more full-time when it comes to Facebook ads and marketing, and bringing in a social media manager who is more full-time. And it's just really been so freeing to have a team that is focused on the growth of the Big Talk and the mission of the company, which is unifying humanity through speech.
I love that. It sounds like you really knew what you needed to accomplish the goal. And there are so many operational decisions that you have to make as the head of the business. Like there's monetary concerns, what I can afford, who I want to work with. Are they only contract? What I want them to be able to focus on if I want them here in an exclusive. And just knowing that I want somebody whose focus isn't split, that allows you to make some decisions that and eliminate some variables that I think keep people stuck and from making decisions. Like, what is my budget for this person? Well, the budget didn't matter for you as much as getting that person and her attention. So that's one of those situations where it's like, I know what I want. I'm going to find a way to make it work. Right.
Absolutely. And when you give yourself permission, going back to giving yourself permission to ask for what you want, it, first of all, it can take people aback. Janice was not expecting me to offer her a full-time position in 4 months. And she had her own company. She works for herself as the director of operations for other people. So now she works as the director of operations for the Big Talk. So there was a slight identity shift that needed to happen there. And it's my job, as I create the culture of the company, to make her feel safe enough that this is a long-term investment, that I'm investing in you because I know you are the perfect fit for this team. So knowing that you need to ask for what you want in order to kind of see the kind of exponential growth that you desire as a business owner, and not be afraid to invest in the people. Investing in the people is the first thing that you need to do in order to invest in your company.
Oh yeah, I would agree on that. And I'm not talking about like going into debt or spending what you can't afford, but if you're cheaping out on the people aspect and not showing that you appreciate them both verbally, like articulating how much you respect and appreciate somebody and their contribution, recognizing them for their contribution, but also recognizing them in the form of compensation and time off and other perks and things like that. That's how you lose talent. And I think that's something that we don't really talk about enough in entrepreneurial circles. First of all, how hard it is to hire and find the right fit, let alone retain them for the long term.
It is so much more expensive to constantly onboard and offboard.
Yep. That's why these hiring processes, like I've seen folks who are more on they're on an employee side and they haven't really dealt with hiring before. And they complain about the process. And like, you gave her a test to see if she was the right fit. I love tests. I have had people fight me so hard on tests, but I'm like, I need to see how you think. I create tests that have a little bit of ambiguity. I want to see if you're going to reach out to me with questions or if you're going to try and tough it through, figure it out on your own and potentially risk going in a wrong direction. Like, I want to see how you process this. This isn't about following all the steps like maybe in elementary school where you complete the steps in the right order and you get an A. No, I want to learn how you think, and that's going to tell me more about whether or not I think you're a good fit than the perfect resume, the perfect background, whatever.
Absolutely.
I love that. And I love that both of you, you talk about permission to ask for what you want. Both of you did that. And I think that's what made that conversation so productive. You said, well, I would really love to have you here full-time working on this. What would that take? And she goes, well, I would like to do that. Can we do this? This is what I would like. This is what that would take. And you both had a conversation that wound up to where you both feel comfortable making this compromise. I think that's so important.
Well, we're in a relationship. And that's the thing that's so important to remember as well, that you are in a very close relationship with the people on your team. And it is a team, right? We are all working in our own lanes. And so she is the expert at managing the team and creating the projects and being the director of operations and seeing the big picture as leadership. So it's really important that if you are hiring, if you are creating a team, for anybody who's listening, who is really excited about expanding and creating a team, open conversation. And remember, you are the influential voice of that company. So how you communicate trickles down, and you get to model how to communicate for your team. So it's really important that you take that on and you take that responsibility seriously.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you said that, because I've seen a lot of folks that are so excited, especially after that initial overwhelm of the growth where you're really kind of bootstrapping and doing everything yourself. You've gotten to the point where you've got the resources and the time to invest in the growth of your company. And now, like, they've swung the pendulum the other way from being deeply involved in the business. They just want to hand off entire things and not really be present anymore. Or they're so uncomfortable handing off of those things that they used to do that they become a little bit of a micromanager and they don't trust the person that they've hired. All of this is a normal part of the process, guys. Like, there's going to be a learning curve, no matter how good of a people person, how good of a leader you are. And that's why I love what you're saying here about this being a back and forth and you talking and setting that communication standard and collaborating on all of this, because you're not going to do it perfectly. And to expect yourself to do it perfectly is kind of setting you up to fail. So just be open to this process. Know that you're not going to be a perfect first-time hire or a perfect leader. But as long as you're still trying and you're keeping your people in the forefront and what you do, you're eventually going to find your way. It's all good.
You will. And hopefully you'll close the gap and you'll get better and better at hiring, and you'll be able to let go further, longer periods of time where you don't have to offboard, and longer periods of time. So if you can kind of start closing that gap, you will get better at it.
Oh, yes. That's amazing. I wanted to go back to one thing that you said that I thought was smart too. Like, she is the expert in doing this. We got to get better when we're hiring at hiring people that are qualified to do things that even we may not understand how to do. Like, I know that one of my struggles for the longest time has been hiring somebody in a technical role, because I have so many like knowledge gaps, and it just does not compute in my mind on how to set up this technology, that there's a lot of fear there about hiring this person. But just trusting them to be the expert and showing me the way has allowed me to let go of that piece so much more easily.
That's amazing. I use this example. I have someone doing SEO for us. And no matter how much time I spend looking at it, I will never understand it. So it's not my place to approve whether or not the hashtags work or the keywords work. It's her place. And so thank you so much for wanting to run something by me, but I hired you because I believe in you and I trust you, and I no longer need to approve any keywords.
Love that. Actually, I want to take an abrupt segue here and go back to what you mentioned at the very beginning about working on musicals and plays. Tell me a little bit about your Broadway experience.
Well, I have worked in theater and film and television for 30 plus years in New York City. I have not been on Broadway. However, I have worked in off-Broadway plays and musicals as a choreographer. I've directed and produced many musicals in New York City. I'm currently attached to one that is going to Broadway as a producer.
Awesome.
And I'm writing a play called Mothers and Daughters right now, which is based on 75 interviews I did with women, all generations, all cultures, all ages. And it's going to be a docu-play, if you will, based on these interviews. So that's super exciting. I'm going to start doing some readings in probably Q2.
Oh, that's excellent. What inspired the idea behind this? I know that we're going a little bit off script from talking about business building, but I find this idea of indulging in these creative processes and these big picture visions and dreams just so exciting.
Well, thank you. I want to connect the dots to business building a little bit, Angie, because I have worked with the same actors for 15 plus years. And when I call them and I say, I'm doing a reading of my new play, Mothers and Daughters, would you be in it? Or if I call and say I'm working on something new, they say yes before they even know what it is.
Love it.
That is how I want to connect the dots to business building, right? Relationships and business building, it's the same no matter what. So the relationship that I have created with my actors and with my stage manager is business building. I have built a relationship with them that is mutually respectful, and they know that I will never waste their time. They know that they will have fun. They know that the room will be safe and that they're going to grow as an artist. And that's the same thing when it comes to my team. It's mutual respect. We have fun and they grow. So it is very, very much the same thing. I just happen to be in a rehearsal studio and not on a Zoom call.
Yeah. Oh, I love the parallels there, because I don't know that I would have ever connected the dots in that way, but I can see it now that you've laid that out. So what gave you the idea to do Mothers and Daughters? Was it just like spontaneous or a passion project? Or
my girlfriends have such complex relationships with their mothers, and it's a conversation we often have. And I thought, I wonder what other people would say, not my close girlfriends, if I interviewed them. So I interviewed women from ages 95 to 7 in the role of asking them the questions of what is it like to be a mother and what is it like to be a daughter, but they're not necessarily the related mother-daughter. And what I found was every single person I interviewed had an equally as complex relationship as a daughter or as a mother. And that is what we have in common. Mm-hmm. And I want to theatricalize that. I want to dramatize that. And so it has become a passion project now because I get to go back and read these transcripts, and all of these women were so vulnerable with me. And it was just one of the most profound experiences to be able to be in the room when they share these vulnerabilities about what it's like to be a mother or what it's like to be a daughter.
Oh, that's so fantastic. And creating that safe space for those conversations to happen, I think, is so important and so underrated. But I'm glad that it's becoming a conversation in society about psychological safety and being able to express what you feel without that repercussion and that pushback. Feelings are uncomfortable and relationships are complicated. But if we can challenge ourselves to be a lot more open and communicative, that's when the sweet stuff happens. That's when the good stuff happens.
Could not agree more. Thank you for saying that, Angie.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so excited. When does it come out? Because I want to check into that.
I'll keep you posted.
That's fantastic. So let's circle that back to, you mentioned the influential voice a little bit ago, and I know I've read the book and it's fantastic, but let's circle back to your business with helping speakers get ready for stage. I don't know where I want to go with that question, but tell us a little bit more about it.
We really, really, really want to give people permission to use their voices and to help amplify and elevate them in order to make the world a better place, in order to teach people how to step into the role of being an influential voice, understanding that their voice matters, making it very clear that you don't have to be a paid public speaker in order to have an impact in the world. Yes, we've put thousands of people onto stages, thousands of speakers onto stages. And we have also really transformed people into who they're meant to be in the world. And that's what's so exciting about what we do at the Big Talk and inside of the Big Talk Academy. The influential voice is my memoir / how to be an effective communicator book. And I realized that I'm asking all of my speakers to get vulnerable all the time and to really share from their scar, not their wound. And it was my time to walk the talk, to walk the walk, if you will, because nobody really knew about my story, my backstory, where I grew up, what my dance career was, how I show up in New York City as an influential voice. So the book is really my personal stories in what it means to be an influential voice, coming from being a dancer who never spoke, but performed and was influential that way, into how to land on your idea, write your talk, remove limiting beliefs. That's a big part of it too, is like really understanding that those are lies. Those are not truths. When you tell yourself, I don't have time, or I don't have a PhD. Those are lies. Yeah.
I'm not qualified, or what's interesting and special about me. Here's a random thing that showed me that like that head trash is present, and it kind of evolves as we evolve. It turns into new stories that pop up, repeating those old comfortable patterns, right? I've been traveling for a while, and I have a lot of folks ask me to write about my travels. And for whatever reason, even though I'm a writer, I've had a kind of block about publishing about it, which I'm working through and undoing. But I did say to somebody, because I spend 6 weeks in each place and I usually unpack and settle in, that I don't really know what's interesting about my travels because I'm just watching Netflix and doing laundry on somebody else's couch. And then one of my friends went, but wait, you have to figure out like 20 different washing machines, and like, do they provide the supplies? Do you bring the supply? I have so many questions. And I went, people are fascinated by me doing laundry on the road. Okay. Maybe this is more interesting than I'm giving myself credit for, because I'm living in it from day to day, but other people are still curious about this because they don't.
Well, there's something about being a nomad and energetically taking your spirit and energy with you every new place you go, but then how you settle into the energy and the spirit of the new location.
That's true. And I think when I do write the book about the experience, it's going to be with, the grounding in reality, which was that probably 50 to 60% of the time I was just sitting at my computer doing work like most of us. And then if I didn't feel like cooking, I might go out and explore a good restaurant that was on my recommended list from all my foodie friends. If I have a block of a couple hours in an afternoon, I might look at my list of recommended activities and adventures and see if I can squeeze one in. But most of the time, I was just living life, doing laundry, cleaning up after myself and my cat. And so it's easy to kind of overlook what is special about us. And I'm not necessarily saying for everybody listening that you have to go out and be a digital nomad or you have to write a play or anything like that to be special. There's a lot of ways that what you're doing already in your day-to-day life is fascinating and interesting, and lots of people outside your life have questions about. So just be you.
I want to highlight what you're saying with a story. Being an influential voice does not mean you have to be a digital nomad or a playwright. It can mean you work at a grocery store. Yep. During March of 2020, New York City was a very volatile place, and going to the grocery store was stressful. So the grocery store down the block from us stayed open 24 hours so that people could stagger when they were going, right? Because they're small. You can't get away from people. So I would go to the grocery store at 5 a.m. with my mask and my gloves, and I would get my cart of food, and Pamela at the checkout in full hair and makeup and a mask, lashes and everything. She would say, "Oh, you're making enchiladas tonight? She would look in my basket and see what I had and then determine what I was making for dinner and tell me, you need one more avocado. Let me go get it for you." So every other day I would go back in and get a little basket of food for that evening, and we would have that exchange. And she was such an influential voice in my life during a time where it was very, very uncertain and chaotic in New York City. That woman made me feel seen, made me feel normal, and made me feel loved.
That is, I'm feeling all of the feels right now. I just got to pause and sit with that glowy feeling, because it's such little actions, right? We often convince ourselves to be influential, to step on a stage, to earn the right, to have the permission to do these things, that we've got to do something big and impactful and noticeable. And it actually starts with the little actions that add up over time, like Pamela making you feel so seen and understood and being so helpful. Look at us here talking about her, and she doesn't even know that we're having this conversation about her. Look at the impact that is rippling throughout history, throughout humanity. I'm being grandiose now, but just one person interacting with another has such a huge ripple effect. And often we're not even aware of the positive impact we have on another, just going about our daily lives.
That is absolutely right. I hope everyone listening can let that wash over you.
So yes, you don't have to go big or go home. You can just be who you are and start from there and embrace what makes you special. You are special. If you're listening to this, if you got ears to hear, you are a special person. And Tricia and I are both here cheering you on, telling you to go do the thing that you want to do. You absolutely can. So this has been an amazing, amazing conversation. I feel like we talked about 20 different things, but I love every single minute of it. So tell us a little bit more about Big Talk Academy, about Influential Voice, and where to find more information about what you're doing.
Thank you, Angie. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. I love it. The Big Talk Academy is our 12-week virtual signature speaker certification for speakers, thought leaders, professionals. It happens twice a year. This is going to actually be airing during the spring cohort. So if you're interested in joining the Big Talk Academy, you can join again in September. So go to thebigtalkacademy.com and get all the info that you need. Also, the Influential Voice book is available on Amazon. And I would love to give your listeners chapter 1 for free, which is all about purpose, values, and mission. And just hop on over to theinfluentialvoicebook.com/chapter and grab your free chapter. And follow me on Instagram at Tricia_Brouk on Instagram. And I would love for you to DM me and let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this interview.
Awesome. I'm going to make sure that they have clickable links in the show notes so that they can do all the things. Definitely pick up that book chapter and read, guys. Pick up the book, read it, leave a review. It's a great book. I've read it myself. If you go on Instagram, you'll see me posing with it with my cute little smile there. Thank you so much for being on the show and for being such an influential voice in my life. I love it. I feel grateful for you every day, and we will have to do this again.
I would love to. I'm grateful for you too, Angie. I appreciate you.
That's all for now. If you want to keep that kick-ass energy high, please take a minute to share this episode with someone that might need a high-octane dose of "you can do it." Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Permission to Kick-Ass podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you stream your podcasts. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and I'm here rooting for you. Thanks for listening, and let's go kick some ass.